Hello and welcome to No Days Till Paid. I'm Pat, this is Peter. We've got an awesome podcast that dives into, as a homeowner or a vendor, trying to get your house on the market and navigating all the ins and outs of it. Today's episode is all about exactly that. Where do we start? What are the process? What you need to look out for? And all of that fun stuff. But before we do that, let's jump in and talk about Peter. Tell me, Peter, a little bit about you.
Well, hi, I'm Peter Beadman and I'm a real estate agent in Goulburn, New South Wales. I currently work with Rain and Horn and I've been there for a couple of years. So I started out in real estate in 2017, started selling property in 2019 as an assistant agent and an administrator, started on my own in 2022. And, sky's the limit from there. Won an award and written a book, selling homes and helping people day in, day out.
Yeah, awesome. So tell me a little bit about the book really briefly. What is the book and all about it?
It's called 90 Days to Paid, and it's just a 90-day program to get agents like I was 2 years ago from starting their career to making money and helping people really quickly and ethically and comfortably and
And
enjoy their career.
and is it aimed towards real estate agents or homeowners or sort of both?
Real estate agents, I am working on a book for homeowners as well, so hopefully that'll be out soon. So, Pat, why don't you tell me? Well, I already know you, but you tell the audience about you and what you bring to the podcast.
Yeah, sure. So I'm Pat from Panorama Studios. We've been running a real estate marketing agency based here in Canberra for about 6 years now. We started out as just a photography service company to agents who it was important to get listing photos, but we've seen there's massive growth in not only the photography side of things, but the everything else side of things. So anything from photography, videos, floor plans, virtual tours, and now marketing advice, and of course podcasts and everything in between. So that's a little bit about me. We also, I come from a background of marketing and graphic design, so that's where I have my degree in. But all of that comes into the melting pot and the experience of just being in the industry and seeing the trends of what's happening, and then also responding to the feedback that we get from our clients and agents about what the market's doing, how they need help, and all the marketing that we can help provide for them.
Awesome.
So, yeah. Well, let's dive into the crux of today's episode, which is navigating where to start and all of the common misconceptions. I think that's probably the best place to start. The common misconceptions that we get as agents or you get as an agent. And what are some of these common misperceptions, myths, urban legends? Where do you want to start, Peter?
Well, I guess I want to start with a lot of the main question that I always get from homeowners, or what they're looking to do before they even speak to an agent is, can I get what I want now? A lot of people are looking to downsize and retire or move away, move closer to the grandkids. They want to buy their first home, but they're holding off because of interest rates, all of that kind of thing. And so they're looking to their agents, their solicitors, and their brokers to tell them, can we do it now or should we wait? And so if you're ready to go now, I want to be able to help you get to where you want to go now.
And that's probably one of the biggest misconceptions is there is honestly never a right or wrong time to sell your property. I think any time in the broad sense of the word is a great time, and if you're with the right agent and the way that you market it, you're going to get the best return on investment as it is.
Yeah. So as you probably know, the biggest thing when it comes to real estate is time in the game. So the longer you have your property, the more you're going to make from it, generally speaking. So if you have to sell today and you can't wait until a year or 5 years from now, then today is the best time for you.
Mm.
But if you can hold on to your property, why would you sell it?
And then where do people seem to get confused, especially at the moment with the RBA talking about either rate cuts or rises and that sort of stuff? How do we navigate knowing that is that a huge factor that we need to worry about, or is it something that we can just put to the back of our mind when it comes to selling?
Well, when it comes to the market conditions, you really need to let your agent explain you through whatever your market is doing, because what is happening in Goulburn is not the same as what's happening in Canberra and everywhere else in the country. But the real estate agent worries about the market. The homeowner really just needs to trust that the agent is going to guide them in the right way. But it is important to note that if you are looking to buy and sell, not just sell, interest rates will affect you in different ways. So, for instance, at the moment, in a lot of parts of the country, we're in a buyer's market or a balanced market, which means properties take a little bit longer to sell. There's less buyers in the market and there's more property for sale. So, if you're looking to buy another house, you have to look at where you're looking to buy. So, if you're looking to sell a house and buy a house, then it doesn't really serve you to be waiting until the interest rates go down, because then we're going to be in a seller's market. There'll be a shortage of properties on the market. So
Yeah, right.
there's a whole heap of stuff to consider. So basically, if you know what you want, so once you decide whatever it is you want, and then you speak to someone about, can we get it? And the answer is usually yes. You just need the right guidance to get you there.
There's two types of agents. I think if I could broadly talk about agents that I've seen when I come in from my point of view, from the actual taking of the photos and getting a listing online. There's the agents that are super keen and eager and all finger on the pulse, and then there's the agents that are the types that are sort of, they're laid back and let the process sort of handle it themselves. Do you want to explain a little bit more, Peter, about your thoughts about these two types of agents and which one that you would start to go down to if you're a buyer looking to find an agent that you know would be good fit to work with?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
So the hardest thing in real estate, but to be a real estate agent, is to continue to show up every day with the same kind of level of experience that you did when you first started. Or not experience, energy. So when I first started in real estate, I was working, like 16 hours a day, really excited, and I loved it. And then you have stages where you're just like, whoa, so tired now. And then you have the agents who have been in the game for a long time, and they kind of lose their enthusiasm, their motivation. And those, I don't know if that's what you mean by they let the everything take care of itself.
Yeah, I mean, it's not, I would say that they uh are not inexperienced. They definitely, I think they've just become a little bit more relaxed in what they do. And I think the word, I think, is hustle, right? They don't have the hustle behind them anymore. I mean, I work with agents that are both been in the game for 25, 30 years and agents that are just starting in the industry, and seeing the difference between the two and how they handle property is really quite interesting. Some of them still have that drive and hustle, and some of them are just if it sells, it sells, and they know the market really well. But there's also a number of other complicated factors to think about when you're trying to pick the right agent, and that could be, are they? It's all about results at the end of the day. Are they getting the results and getting it for the value, or are they just picking this up as another listing to add to their portfolio? And I think that's what you're sort of meaning with these agents that are either been in the game a while, or there's no lack of care. It's all about, to them, it's about how many properties can I have in my portfolio on the books at any one time, which isn't necessarily a good thing unless you really know what you're doing per se. I would
Yeah.
say, is that a good way of explaining it, you think?
Yeah, so I see a lot of agents who will take on any listing and they don't have any kind of finesse to it. And they never turn down work either. So they're just like, yeah, we'll take on whatever you can. And usually they're the cheapest agents as well.
Mm,
And then you have the people who understand the market and they let the market control what they're doing. So I think if I were to choose an agent, I'd kind of want someone who has the hustle, but also who understands the market and knows when to hold off from price reductions and pushing marketing tactics, and just let the market kind of do its thing. So in Goulburn, our average days on market is around 90 days. So sometimes we'll sell a property before it even hits the market, once we've listed it and have the contract. So a week in, we're getting results. That happens maybe 20% of the time, and other times we have to really work for it. And I see a lot of agents, I hear about a lot of agents who are pushing price reductions really quickly, and expecting people to take offers that are outside of their appraisal price. So if an agent has an appraised it at 850,000, they might be saying, "We'll take 800,000 because we have it now."
yeah.
Where a lot of the time, sometimes if you wait, if you know the market and you know it takes 90 days to get the sales result that you want, would you wait an extra 4 or 6 weeks to get $50,000?
Mm.
It's just about, and that's where an experienced agent comes in. They know that the market takes what it takes. And then also being able to tell people, well, actually, we're probably not going to get what you expect, and you should take this offer. So you just want an agent that you can trust to guide you and not be selfishly motivated. So you don't want an agent who's just saying, take the 800 because that's going to get them paid quicker.
Yeah, 100%. Well, let's talk a bit. There's a world of different topics we could go down there. I want to bring it all the way back to the start and talk about an early listing presentation. Pat, want to put my home on the market, and where do I start? Let's start with that. Where do I start from that point? Do I try and do it myself? Do I pick an agent? Like, what's the benefit of which one? And then when I get to sitting down and actually having a chat to the agents, what are the sort of things should I be hearing out for, or questions that I should be asking my agent to know that I've got the right one that knows, or that know what they're talking about, I think, at the end of the day.
Yeah. So the first thing you're going to do when you decide to sell, you're going to want to know what you're doing and how you're going to achieve it. So that involves, so you decide, I'm going to sell and I'm going to move to Queensland, for instance. So you've got to pick your advocates. So agent, broker, if you need one, and solicitor. So a good agent will have a relationship with a conveyancer or a solicitor who you can use, but you might already have yours. So you want to choose people that have your best interest at heart. So they know what you want to do, they fully understand, they've listened to your goals, and they're on board to help you. So their goals, whatever that agent, solicitor, and broker's goals are, they're not um, participating or influencing what they're doing for you.
Gotcha.
That's the most important thing, is how can you get what you want? And these people are here to support you to get there.
100%. And I think what we also need to do is our own market research first and that's just jumping on allhomes or realestate.com and actually having what has houses around me sold within the last, 6 months, 12 months? What's a good time period to look at for your own research in terms of?
Oh, that's really a tricky one, because in some places, for instance, Kabula, just near here, there's only a handful of sales a year.
Yep.
Other places like Gungahlin, there are sales every day.
Yeah.
So it depends. If you have, I would say 6 months is kind of a good ballpark, but you can take a consideration to sales a little bit longer. What I would look at when it comes to picking those agents is, how do their listings look online? So as a what's it called, an audience member, you can't actually see how many views and that kind of thing that they're getting. But you can see how it looks to you and whether you'd be interested in viewing their homes, because you would know, doing photography and marketing, that most of the buyers now, they're seeing the property online first. That's their first
Yes.
inspection.
Yeah.
So do they have great photography, plenty of photos? So some of the feedback I get is that there's not enough photos. Do they have enough photos that you can see the whole house, floor plan? Do they have a virtual tour so that buyers could be sitting at home and drinking a glass of wine and looking through your property? Do they have a video? Are they ticking all of the boxes? You want to make sure that your agent is going to be the easiest person to buy from. So that kind of thing is their first inspection. So how does it look online? Then, how recent are their reviews and how many do they have? So, a lot of the time, people who have consistent 5-star reviews and they haven't ever had a 4 or a 3-star review, those reviews might not be real and they might be managed. So, read the reviews, read the newest ones, and look at the lowest scores as well. I do that when I pick a restaurant. So, how bad could it get?
Yeah. 100%.
And so you can see the actual feedback that people are giving them. You want a realistic idea of what they're doing. And then what have they sold near you or similar to yours? So sometimes if you have a 5-bedroom stately home, looking at people who have sold a 3-bedroom on your street is not really comparable. So what have they sold in your field?
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah.
I think that's something that is overlooked often, is that agents I either want to go for that bigger listing, which is, of course, they do, because it means a high commission for them. But the other factor is how do they know the product that they're going to sell? So finding an agent that is good at for example, a good family home in Gugong, or a big, large rural property, those two different types, or a small little apartment in the middle of Braddon. All three of those are completely different scenarios and have completely different buyers lists. So having an agent that is in your court and understands that market is very, very important. And then the other thing I would highly suggest is to make sure you do your peer research and go talk to your friends and family and see what experiences they've had with their agents and how many good recommendations from there. And you'll start to get pretty quickly from the people you talk to, who are the people that are awesome and have helped me out, and who are the people that are probably a bit on the avoid side. So no, that's pretty awesome. So we're in the listing presentation. I've got a whole bunch of stuff that you've just just rattled off to me. What kind of questions should I be asking to know that I have made the right decision for you? Because I'm guessing you're not the type of agent that's just going to push a sales tactic. You're at the end of the day going to help with the information that's given. And I don't know. Does that make sense what I'm trying to say? Yeah.
So my whole job is to help you.
Yeah.
So if we meet and whatever I'm selling does not suit you, I want you to not pick me.
Yeah.
Because I
Gotcha.
want to be able to help the people that need my help. And if I'm not suitable for you, then that's just how the cookie crumbles, I suppose. So yeah, I don't do the pushy sales techniques for my buyers or my sellers, because if you don't want to buy a home, you won't. And if you find someone who's more suitable for you, you should choose them. But my whole goal is to help you get what you want. So the things that I'm going to, well, I don't know what you should be asking because that's really specific to your situation.
Mhm.
But I'll talk you through, I guess, what people are always asking me, the questions that come up often.
Perfect.
Yeah. So I guess the first, I guess, big question is, how long is this going to take? And ultimately, it depends on what the market's doing in your area, but um, an agent who knows their stuff can tell you what's the average day on sale on the average days on market in your area. They'll also be able to tell you what kind of buyers are in the area and how long do properties like yours take. So the average days on market for Goulburn is over 90 days. So I think around 110 last time I checked.
Wow.
But I know properties under 500,000, they sell within a month,
Mm.
uh, because there's just not a lot there. And I also know that properties that are priced over 1.3 million can take 6 to 12 months. I know that small rural properties, they take 6 to 12 months as well. I know that the average family home sitting at around 850,000 to 900,000, that takes at least 80 days. So I can rattle that all off and I can explain the process to a seller, but also I give them a timeline so that you stage your marketing and your selling strategy so that you can target the buyers accordingly.
Gotcha.
So we have, a small period when we start that we try and target buyers who are in our database. We have over 10,000 buyers in our database in Goulburn. Um, we target those. We target local buyers who might know of someone. They might have a niece or a nephew or a son who wants to move to the area. So we try and target those. And we do social media campaigns and all of that kind of thing so that if there's a buyer who is emotionally invested in that area, they're going to pay the best price probably, and they're going to have the best terms. So that's stage one of the marketing. And for agents who invest in training like I do, I have a system that I follow based on a famous trainer, Lee Woodward. So I follow his staged marketing campaign, and I can talk you through all of that.
Fantastic. We'll get to that in
Oh,
just a second.
not today.
Yeah, not today. Okay.
All right, Pat. So let's switch gears and let's ask you a question. What should homeowners and home sellers be looking at doing when they're marketing their property?
Sure. So marketing, it's a big loose word. And I think homeowners straight away get really nervous because it's a big cost and it's a big component of the whole campaign. But if you think about it, it's probably the most important part of the campaign. The agent is there, of course, to help guide and get the sales and get the leads. But in a very, broad sense of the word, you've got a product. Your product needs leads. A lead is a buyer, and the agent is there to then get the buyer across the line. They're actually making the sale. So with the marketing component, we need a really good base of photography and floor plan. At a bare minimum, we need that. If we don't have that, they just don't know what they're looking at or how the property presents from there. At the end of the day, as a homeowner, you've got to realize the marketing's job is to get the buyer to come and look at an open home. And then from there, it's the up to the agent to help get it across the line. So photography and floor plan as a start. Now, if you've got the budget, we start adding some other really important things in. So virtual tours, which is something that Peter absolutely loves doing because it goes and shows you the entire property in its entirety before you even get to set foot on the site. Gone are the days where real estate agents are trying to show as little as possible, so then you have to go it. We're gone into this total different realm where our audience are what's called an informed buyer, right? So they know a lot about the property, sometimes even more than you do, by the time they're hitting the open homes, and you've got to know that and navigate your way that as an agent. So virtual tours are one of those things that do that, and they can have a look around and see all the things. But if you want to go to that next level, we use video. Video helps not only promote the agent, but it's not about the agents, it's about the house and the lifestyle. And that's, I think, 100%. The video helps sell a lifestyle and sell a story at the end of the day of what that lifestyle and story is that we're going to have when we move into that property. I'm going to name drop here. One of the best examples I've seen of storytelling for video is Johnny Warren Properties. They have absolutely fantastic storytelling methods when they're creating the video, because it's a whole narrative and they find and talk about the whole property. Each agent has their own unique spin and way in which they want to do it. And we've had agents who don't want any talking in the property, agents who want to tell a whole story, agents who just want to do an intro. All of those sorts of things are important when it comes to selling a property. Again, you'll find this out when you start talking to the agents about what's best and the right fit for you when you're going. And then from there is the drone part of the photography. You don't need drone, but it's, again, a really nice thing to have, so you can point out school, shops, other parts, important facilities and amenities around your property. And if you've got a rural property, it's pretty much the only way to get around and see the whole thing, to make sure that you get a full understanding of it, so you can come out and actually see it yourself. So that's kind of the nuts and the bolts of it. But why that's expensive? Because unfortunately it takes time and money to produce these, and in order to produce good quality stuff, I could go into a whole nother podcast about iPhone photos versus good quality. Yeah. Let's not go there today. Good quality marketing is a real estate supplier like myself who understands what a buyer is actually looking for.
Yeah.
Telling a story in the right way, I think, is the best thing, and choosing photos and angles and choosing video and virtual tours that actually help promote the property in the right way rather than hinder it and show it in another way. Like, let's face it, not every single house is going to be perfect every single one of the time. We're not here to mask or hide that, but we are here to show the features that may have been overlooked or the areas that are the most fascinating parts of the house. And that's why you choose an experienced person to help market a property and go from there. Then we've got other aspects of marketing. So that's just the physical content creation side of it. You've actually got now the marketing campaign itself. Unfortunately, the only way that you're going to get your property noticed these days is through a listing portal. Gone are the days where you can send it just on your real estate database and hope that it's going to sell. Yes, that happens, and yes, the real estate agents have good databases. But if you want to get it out to the masses, you're going to need to use a listing portal like realestate.com, Domain, All Homes, Zango, if you're here in Canberra. Each one of those have a cost involved to it, because they've done all the hard lifting for you. They've got buyers and people that are ready to go, and they're feeding your property to their eyes, essentially, to make that happen. So each one of those will have a minimum turnaround, a minimum listing date. I think it's about 4 weeks, or is there a cost? Do you know exactly like how long they sit on the listing portals, or is it just until it's sold?
Oh, it's until it's sold.
Okay, sorry. Sorry.
Yeah. So in Goulburn, we use primarily realestate.com.au. Probably a third of our viewers are on Domain, but the bulk of them are on realestate.com.au. You pay once, and we have obviously a prestige listing, and then it sits there until it's sold. So I think it's commercial real estate listings that expire after 4
Yes,
weeks.
yeah. So there is, and then there's different levels in which each one of those portals can do different things. So, for example, you could be put as a feature property and be always on the homepage of the property. You could be put into their social media campaign and actually pop up on their social media feeds, and then be pushed out through paid advertising through the social media world. There's just so many different complexities. It's all about how many eyes, how quickly you want it to get it sold. And if you spend the right amount of money on marketing, it means your property is most likely going to be on market less than if it wasn't, because we're actively got data to feed your property into the right eyeballs at the right time.
There are some notes that I wanted to,
Yeah, please.
yeah. So I guess importantly, marketing, even though it's perceived as so expensive, it makes up less than 1% of your sale price. So the average sale price in Goulburn is around 600,000. Um, and we spend $3,000 to $3,500 on marketing on average. And in that makes up less than 0.5% of a sale price. So realistically, it seems so expensive, but it's not. It's just a small fraction of what you're paying. And then on top of that, your marketing can make you money. So if you think about how much you spend on an agent, which I know is between 2 and 4%, and 1% for marketing, that's your big expenditure when it comes to a sale. And it can ultimately make you money if you're working with the right agent, the right marketing firms, and you've got a strategy in place.
Now, the biggest, sorry, just before we jump off that topic, the biggest concern I always hear about is, when do I pay for all this? Is it
Yeah.
upfront, or is it at the end of the sale, or can we, what options do I have available?
Yeah, that's a really good question, actually. So with our agency, I can't speak for all of the agencies. We obviously have the pay upfront option. Usually, you can save yourself a little bit of money that way. There is a pay on settlement option. We get third party funding for it, so that because it's a cost to us, so that we don't have to foot the bill straight away. And you pay that on settlement, and you pay a small fee to the agent. The, the agent that does the payment. So you've got pay on settlement or pay upfront. And some agencies, they'll include their marketing as part of their fee as well. I tend not to do that because I guess it's a standalone option. So
Hmm.
you really want to have the best marketing for your property, and you want your agent to be unbiased. So if it's going to cost them an extra $3,000 to get you the right price that they have to pay up front, it's unlikely that they're going to do exactly what they need to do to get you the result you need. But I,
100%.
I have a couple of questions for you.
Yeah.
So, when you're talking about marketing, how important do you think it is that an agent understands your target buyers and has the buyer research when they're
Oh, that is a fantastic question. I think it is vitally important to have an agent who understands what audience and what sort of target buyer it's going to be. An agent that goes, yeah, anyone could have this property. It's suited to anyone. If that's their response, I think you need to start looking for another agent really quickly, because they need to understand that every home has a type of buyer, no matter what it is. Yes, they sometimes are quite broad, but there is always a finite person that you'll find that will be perfectly suited to this property, because gone are the days where you think anyone could just walk through an open home and will just buy a property. It's someone is going to have a specific set of needs, whether or not they're a student, a family, a downsizer, an upsizer, a rural person, a horsey person. All of those are key audience types that we need to make sure that we are aware of and do right up front, and have that conversation with our agent, so we know from the get go who we're actually targeting. Is hugely important.
Yeah, I have a bit of a funny story about that. So I've recently sold a property for these lovely downsizers, and it's a very special property. So obviously Panorama shot the photography and all of that kind of thing. They have like beautiful bright cabinetry, 1,000 square meter block, smaller home. Um, and established gardens. It's absolutely gorgeous. And when we met, we talked at length about who our buyers would be, because with those kind of niche properties, especially when they're at the higher end, so 3 bedroom homes in Goulburn usually sit under 700,000. We're hoping for 850 to 860. So we had a bit of work cut out for us. So we really worked at targeting our buyers. So I told them at the beginning, we're going to attract older people. Typically, we're going to have downsizers, whether they're coming from a rural block, which is where they're going to attract, the 1,000 square meters with established gardens, or there might be, I guess, upsizing from an older home with not enough garden. So that's what we were looking at. So we knew our buyers straight away. And so we actually had multiple offers on that property throughout the time. And all of the buyers who made lower offers or who came through, they were very interested, but they didn't commit. They just didn't match our target buyer profile.
There you go.
And then you have buyers that come through and they're downsizing and they're also moving interstate, which was a surprise. But downsizing. They gave us no trouble, paid, very close to the asking price, and it's been an awesome sale, and they're our target buyers. So
There
it
you go.
happens
See,
time and time again.
it pays to know what
Yeah.
your target audience is, because that will go a long way into getting it sold within
And
90 days,
yeah,
100%.
during the sale, it actually makes it a lot easier because you're going to treat all buyers respectfully and give them everything that they need. But when you have the buyers that match your target, you and they answer all of the questions that you're expecting, then you really know to hone in on them.
Yes.
And especially trying to get the best price because like you have such a detailed avatar of that buyer that you know how to push them and how to work with them, and it makes it beautiful.
Yeah,
Yeah.
100%. That's awesome. Rightio, so moving on from marketing, which we, I think, have covered quite well now, it segues into our next topic, which is methods of a sale. There is at least 3 different types of sale methods that I know of. Which one should we choose and what is best for my property? I think that's the ultimate question that any homeowner is going to ask.
Yeah. So just to confirm, the sales methods that you know of are auction, private treaty, like for sale, and expressions of interest.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Cool. So they so there's actually only two sale methods when it comes to properties. It's private
There
treaty.
you go.
So it's auction, and
Yep.
then private treaty, which is expressions of interest by negotiation, offers invited, all of that kind of thing. They're all what's called private treaty, which is for sale. So
Gotcha.
ultimately, your agent should be able to sell via auction or private treaty because when we do our training, we're trained in both. What happens over time is that they work with an agency who specializes in auction or specializes in private treaty, and then they use that as their kind of only marketing strategy.
Yep.
But it's really just a tool in your box of things that you can do to sell a property. So when you're deciding, do I auction my property or do I sell via one of the for sale methods, you have to think of a lot of things. So you as an owner, what is your preference? And also, are you going to be comfortable with a really stressful auction campaign? Or is it going to suit you better to just do inspections by appointment and have an asking price? You also have to think of your target buyers. As we know, target buyers or your buyer avatar are really important. So for some buyers, they don't attend auctions. So if we have a property where downsizers are our target market, they're unlikely to attend an auction. They won't even look at auction properties online. But then if you have investors, some first home buyers in a busy market, auction can be the best way to go. You also have to look at things like, do you have a tenant in place? A tenant is not really going to be happy with an auction. So you got to weigh that up. And how quickly do you need to be sold? So auctions have a really great, what's the word?
Way of pushing it forward faster,
Yeah.
I think, is the
So
best way.
auctions. So once you are sold under the hammer at an auction campaign, whether it's 3 or 5 week campaign, whatever it needs to be, you're sold. So that buyer is unconditionally sold, which means they've paid their deposit and they have no way out of that contract. So when you sell with the private treaty method, they usually have a cooling off period and they have time to do their research and all of that kind of thing. So auctions are really great. In a seller's market, I would auction everything.
Yeah.
Well, firstly, I always try and sell everything off market because you can get the best results then. And in a seller's market, I'll auction my left shoe. But when it comes to a buyer's market or a balanced market, you really want to be only auctioning properties that are highly sought after in the area. So for Goulburn, if they are under $500,000, auction's a great way to sell a property. Or if they're unique, or if the seller really wants to go to auction, there's no reason that we can't do it. So I think it's important that you don't get fooled into thinking that there's only one way. Because
Yes.
if you don't sell at auction, you then sell via private treaty.
Yeah.
So you can go both ways, and your agent should be fully equipped to do both. And that is where I would kind of make your decision, not based on how they're going to sell the property, but how are they going to be the easiest agents to buy from.
Yeah.
So you got to think of your buyer as the person with all your money.
Yeah. Yeah.
So right now they're holding what you want, and so your agent really needs to make it so easy for them to hand that money over to you, and get you moved on.
Yeah. And I think it's, really important to choose the right method. I just want to retouch back on what you said about the right method that works for you. There might be some cases where you need to move quickly and you've got, for example, already another offer on another house. So maybe an auction campaign would be something to go for
Yeah.
because it's a quick way of getting quick cash quickly to get on and moving. Or if you're looking at just that you guys are downsizing, you're not in a rush to sell your property. We've been here 25 years, then maybe a private treaty is the way to go. So
So can I just interrupt you?
yeah,
So I think that you've just hit a really common misconception on the head there.
yeah,
So auction sales are not necessarily quicker than private treaty sales.
okay,
Yeah.
yep,
So always do a coming soon period where you can sell off market. That's just something that makes sense to all good agents. If they can sell to their database or their known buyers, they should. And so that is going to present the best way for you to sell quickly. And private treaty can sell way quicker than auction
there you go.
because, like, just because you're not selling under hammer, you have 3 to 5 weeks of that auction campaign that a good private treaty agent can be working hard to sell within that time.
Yes,
So recently I had a property that I sold as just a little two beddy. One agency wanted to auction it, one agency wanted to private treaty it, and I said, well, let's just see if I can sell it over the holiday period. So it's settled. So we listed it mid-December. It's settled a week ago or this week.
there you go.
Yeah.
So just over a month.
And private treaty. So,
Yeah,
and we could have taken it to auction, but then you're going to deter all those buyers who can't make the open home times, or they're not ready to buy, or they just don't like auction. Some
yes.
people, they will just refuse.
And that also goes back into the audience factor, right? Is your audience your buyer that is going to buy the property? Are they going to be the type of person that's going to love an auction, or
Yeah.
are they going to be one that just like, I don't know how to deal with an auction, I've never done an auction before, and will ultimately deter your pool of people because they're too afraid of this word auction? And like, I would say, first home buyers or people who haven't been through the process before, are those types of people that just have. Yeah, when we did it and we had that option, we had a little 2-bedroom townhouse here in Queanbeyan, and it was presented to us to do an auction. And I'm like, I know my buyer's not going to be someone who knows what an auction is or what to do in an auction, so I think we're going to steer clear of that method altogether. So that's just a scenario that could happen with
Well,
you.
if your agent is like a pro and they know how to handle their buyers, and it's not handle their buyers, it's educate their buyers
Yes,
and talk them through the auction process, and give them support, on auction day with another staff member, or guide them through. If they're good at handling buyers, it shouldn't really matter how they choose to sell it. The main thing is, like I'll say time and time again, get someone who knows your buyers, who's going to work with them at their level, and that buyers are going to want to work with them. That's
yeah.
all that matters, really.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
All right. So we've talked about marketing. We've talked about what to look out for an agent, and we've talked about different types of selling the home. I think finally we should tackle the elephant in the room, which is commission, right? Everyone hates this word, but ultimately you've chosen an agent. They're going to want their cut in some way. How do agents justify their commission rate, and what to look out for when choosing the right agent in terms of the commission side of things?
Yeah. Okay, so I'm going to exhibit how I guess commission is substantiated in a case study. So I have a lovely acreage property in Goulburn. I want to sell it for $1 million. That's what the market is telling me it's probably worth. And ultimately, that's what I need to be able to move on. So I don't mind if I have to sell for $1 million and pay my commission out of that. Um, and there's a couple of different agents that I've spoken to. So the first agent in the hypothetical, they charge 2.5% of the selling fee. So of the sale price, which is $25,000. So they charge $25,000 and they include marketing, which is awesome. You're getting a fair price and you don't have to pay for marketing. And so my experience with that agent could be like this. Um, we we get the contract done, and we take some photos, and we get some copywriting done, and then it goes online. It goes on domain, not realestate.com.au, because that's what the agent's done. And so lots of people don't see it. So throughout the process, the agent doesn't really give me guidance on how to prepare my house for sale. So they do the open homes, and I keep getting feedback that it needs a little bit too much work.
Mm.
And so when we finally get an offer comes through at $980,000, and the agent is pushing me to take the offer, even though they've appraised the property at 1 million to 1.1, which is really annoying. So they pushed me to take the offer, and there's been other people that go to the open home, but no one else has made an offer. They say it's our only offer, you should take it. So we take the offer, we sell for $980,000, and we end up finding out that our buyer needs 9-day settlement. So that means for 3 months, I'm kind of sitting in limbo, and they pay using a deposit bond instead of cash. So I don't really have access to
Any of the funds.
any of the funds
Yeah.
to fulfill my move. I have heaps of stuff to do, and I don't really hear from the agent after exchange of contracts. So I'm kind of left on my own. But we get through, we settle, and so out of my $980,000, I have to pay $2,500 in conveyancing, and I pay $25,000 for my sales and marketing. Which, I mean, I feel like the agent could have done more for their work, and I'm disappointed that we didn't get quite what we needed.
But at the end of the day, you've walked away and you've got your money and
And I've got
the done,
950,
and you got,
and so I can buy something and it's totally fine.
Yeah.
So it's just that's like an average scenario.
Yep.
Okay, so second scenario, we list with an agent. So we meet with the agent and she tells us, well, I think the property is good. As it is, you probably would only get 900 to 950 or 900 to 960 for the right buyer, but we could sell pretty quickly. But if you get a professional clean and you paint your kitchen cabinets white, which we can get a handyman to do, get you some quotes, and you just do a little bit of
General tidying up around the
tidying,
place. Yep.
landscaping, just decluttering. We might be able to get you some more, and we can get that funded using our third-party funder, and they just take a little fee at the end. And what we'd also recommend is we have this guide on how to present your property for sale. So, we went through that and we adjusted accordingly. We put a lot of stuff in our shed because no one really cares if the shed is full of junk as long as they can see it. Um, and so and we had some candles burning for the open homes, and we had, little trinkets out that makes our house seem loved. And so before we even get to the market, we have a couple of buyers come through and they give us feedback that they would pay around $990,000, but they're not quite ready to buy yet. That's just really good feedback. So we're going into our photography and our session on the marketing component, we're feeling pretty confident. So then our photographer comes through and he's awesome and he takes a couple of hours and he gets us a floor plan and a virtual tour and a video. And we get to see the marketing preview before it goes live. So we feel confident that it looks good, that it accurately reflects what our property is. And then on top of that, when we go live, we get a timeline of what it looks like. So we have 4 weeks of open homes. We know what times approximately they're going to be. We know that the agent's going to turn up early. We know that they're going to have a second agent with us because it's a big property and they're expecting a good turnout. So we kind of know what to expect. Within the first 2 weeks, we get offers that start at $1 million. Our agent, even though they know that we would sell for $1 million, negotiates and creates a sense of
hype and interest
hype
already.
and interest. Yep. So we have buyers, even though we only have one buyer interested, they feel like there's a sense of urgency. So they end up paying $1,050,000 for the house and they exchange within a week. They have a cooling off period, but then they're settled in 40 days.
Hey, I know which scenario I'm going to choose. Yeah.
And so we have to pay that little bit extra for marketing, but we end up with more in our pocket. And I didn't get to the end of it.
Oh, sorry.
Where once we have exchanged contracts, our agent sits down with us and tells us exactly what we need to do ahead of settlement. And we set together a timeline on what the actions that need to be taken, the steps that need to be taken. We have a breakdown of what the costs are going to be, and they even help us connect with an agent where we want to buy. So this is the kind of thing that you're paying the same amount of money, 2.5% or 2.5% of marketing, you're going to end up with more theoretically, but you're also having such a better experience.
And I think that's what it comes back to at the end of the day, choosing an agent and talking through with them and talking about these important points. Are you going to be the type of agent who's just going to set and forget it? Or are you the type of agent who's actually going to give me advice on what needs updating, how we can maximize the sale price, how we can maximize our money and by using some of these different systems to help us get the best return on investment. And as you can see, just by a simple switch of having an agent look at some things, updating a few things, and then ultimately having you pay for it on settlement means that you've made more money in the end as a result of it.
I
So
want to tell you a little secret
yeah.
also. So in that hypothetical, I'm agent number 2. But not only that, I think it's important that when you work with people that um, it comes back to what we talked about at the beginning, that we are working as your best friend to get you what you need. So it's not like, even though in that hypothetical, I probably knew that I could sell that person for $1 million, but why would I not try and do better?
Yeah.
And so that's what it comes down to. Like, if your agent can do better, they should do better.
Yeah, 100%. Well, thank you very much, Peter. I think this wraps up episode 1 for 90 Days Till Sold. As you can see, this is going to be an awesome set of podcasts that we're going to do over the next 12 months, and there's some really good stuff up and coming. So stay tuned for the next episode. Thank you, Peter. I'm Pat. We'll see you on the next one.
Thank you.